We're doing this one. We're doing this one a little bit on the run this morning. And I'm going to touch on the subject about spiritual intelligence. Now, we've all got it. Lots of people think that they don't, but we do. We all have it. And, spiritual intelligence is a really fascinating subject in the sense that, we all have it and we all have glimpses of it, but then what actually is it? And, with everything that we've been learning and how the tools of the Spirit that are available to us, this is one that we are born with it, but then we can increase it and we can grow in it more and more. And some children have a lot of spiritual intelligence, and they respond to lots of things that are happening around them and picking up on. And often these children get shut down, and because the parents aren't aware or are understanding what's actually happening for that child and why they are behaving they are and what's actually going on with them. And we don't take the time to talk to children to find out what is happening for them. So some of you guys would have had that experience where, you had it when you were born, you were moving in it, and then your programming has shut it down. So, what is spiritual intelligence? It's really I call it the ability to see around corners. And it's an awareness or foresight of things that haven't yet happened but are coming or will happen, so that we're already armed and ready on how to handle the situation. So we're not caught unawares. We're not caught going, oh, I didn't know that was coming. And this is, Jesus again is his perfect representation of how to, walk in right relationship with the Creator, with God. But also he had this spiritual intelligence of what was happening, what was in people's hearts, what their motives were. And, he could read the room, and he already knew what was coming. He was already forewarned. Therefore, if you're forewarned, you're already forearmed. So then nothing can take you by surprise. And then what happens is when we are taken by surprise, we react from our emotions or our soul realm. Whereas when we're forearmed, we are already in check emotionally. We're already in check with what's happening, and we don't react. We stay in a place of governance by responding. Now, there are some things about, being, seeing future, if you want to call it that, is that it may not mean it's actually going to happen to us. It's something that could be happening to somebody else. So I'll give you an example of one of these experiences. For me was in a church setting, and this new pastor was brought into the fold, so to speak. And as soon as I looked at him, I went, oh my goodness, like we have got some problems coming here. And I saw him, and then I saw another lady and her family. She was married and had a beautiful husband and a couple of children. He was married, had a beautiful wife, had 5 or 6 children. And I saw in the spirit that those two were going to end up in an adulterous situation. So being young in the things that I saw, and, thinking that I'm in a place, a spirit-filled church, that would understand the gifting. I went to the senior pastor and I told him what I had seen in the spirit. Well, guys, I was absolutely berated. I was punished, in the sense of nearly being excommunicated. And, you know, they basically told me that I was the one with all the problems. And I'm like, I was shocked, because I'm like, I'm just sharing with you what God showed me. And within 3 months, everything that I saw and everything that I said happened. So 2 families got totally destroyed because of their actions. And, you know, the sad thing about a lot of, and I'm not picking on pastors, but, you know, leadership in a lot of churches is they protect their own, and, you know, they just move them on, a bit like other religions that we know, and they move them on to another community or another suburb or, you know, another state, and the problem continues and keeps reoccurring. So it's like, well, what do you do with that? Well, I learned you don't take it to the senior pastor. It's like, well, if they haven't got ears to hear, that's on them. And, you know, it had an incredible ripple effect, which was really sad. And I actually, to be honest, guys, I was really grieved. I spent 12 months quite grieved of the situation. And it was like, God, don't ever show me anything again, because, you know, it was a hard time for me. And I went through a really rough trot with it. But the thing is, this is where we need to know what to do with what we're shown. And that is where we learn or grow in how to govern, how we partner with God, how we partner with the Spirit, and we come in and we can step into that in the Spirit and change things. And this is part of what I really want to share with you guys, so that you can grow into this, so that we can start to learn how to truly govern. Because if we govern in the Spirit, we can change things on the earth. And there's also things that we can do on the earth that will change things in the Spirit, right? It's always a mirror effect. So, you know, seeing around the corners, for your own life, it's great. It's fantastic. It's one of the most amazing tools, because it will forewarn you, and you're engaging with the spirit of wisdom. So every situation you come into, you're engaging a spirit of wisdom. So you're getting insight, you're getting foresight, you're being forewarned, which means you're forearmed. So, you know, even if you're running a business, you want that insight, because it will show you the people that are truly working for you and those that are working against you, whether there's any theft happening, whether there's any divisiveness happening. And then you can work with the spirit of wisdom and with God on how to deal with those sort of things. I've since learned that, you know, confrontation is not the way of the Spirit. In the sense of, and I'm talking about getting in people's faces and telling them, you know, well, you're this and you're that and you're divisive and you're a gossiper and you're all these sort of things. Like there is a way to address these situations with people. And number one always starts in the Spirit, because when you go in the Spirit, then you can make a way to have a conversation with those people that comes from absolute love, and also to bring them to a place of change. Now, not everybody wants to change. They think there's nothing wrong with them and it's, you know, all your fault. Then you go, you know what? It's time for you to move on, or it's time for me to move on. So this is where engaging wisdom teaches us and guides us who to partner with and who not to. And then and that's how we walk through life, because everything is a choice and everything is an offer. So, you know, Jenny and I working together, it's an offer. It came to the table and it was like, yeah, I'm really excited about that, because there's a real gelling in the spirit with Jenny. There's a real connection. I see her heart. I see where she wants to go, and I want to be part of that for her and with her, so that we're working together and there's no friction, or there's no ego, there's no agenda, because the hearts are pure for what we want to see happen for other people. And they're the people you want to partner with. So the thing, again, just going back to, Jesus, is he could read every room. And if you read the Bible, especially his parables or the situations in the New Testament, he talks about that. His conversations, everything that he connected with, he already knew what was going on. He already knew, there's someone here with, 5 loaves and 3 fishes, or vice versa, whatever it is. And he already knew, he already had the solution, is where I'm going with this. So we have access to solutions. So if you see a problem in the future, you can already help prepare the solution to come into that situation. So I'll give you another example, which just happened recently. So my daughter has just taken off to go to Brazil for 6 weeks. She's got some gigs over there, and she's meeting some friends, and her partner, his family's over there. So they were, I dropped them off at the airport, and they're off to go. Now, they had a lot of luggage. And I remember thinking, I think they're going to have problems with the plane, with the luggage that they had, because they had to do a domestic flight before they did an international one. I knew they would be right with the international one. I knew they were going to have problems with the domestic, and only because the Spirit told me. So anyway, they were leaving really early in the morning, and I was in bed, and I woke up, the Spirit woke me up at 3 a.m. and he said, they're having trouble with their luggage. I went, oh, okay. So I went into the Spirit, and I just pulled on favor for them. I got a message, and that was in my sleep, right? So I'm semi-awake. I'm doing what the Spirit's leading me to do. I go back to sleep. I get a phone call, a message from Jess at 5 a.m. saying, Mum, we had 28 kilos of excess luggage that was going to cost us $300, but we found favor with the luggage man, and we didn't have to pay a cent. So because that, we've worked really hard to get them on this trip, to get the finances, and that would have just been a huge, hole in their budget. So it was like, this has been forewarned, guys. This has been forearmed, that we are already onto it. And this is how the Spirit moves. Now, I had another situation last night. It's interesting. When my daughter goes away, I am so much more spiritually attuned and aware of her and what's happening around her than I am when she's living in the house with me. It's really, I'm going, it happens every time she goes overseas. And I'm like, why is that? Because she needs mama's protection. She needs to know that she's covered, and God is calling me to cover her. Why? Because I govern over her. Why do I govern over her? Because she's in my heart. She's my daughter. I love her, and I want her to be safe and protected and well looked after. So these are the things that when you're in governance, true governance with somebody, and that is whoever you love, gives you permission to govern over them in the Spirit, because you're already connected. There's a heart-to-heart connection, which they called cardionosis. So that's part of understanding our governance, which all comes into that spiritual intelligence, that we can tap into these things. We can move with the Spirit in this way. Another way that spirit intelligent works can often come through dreams as well. You'll get a download of something, and dreams are amazing. I love having dreams. And sometimes they can be, those dreams aren't fulfilled for 10 years. I remember I had a dream about a particular house, and I was walking through this house, and it was very detailed. And I'm like, wow, I would never buy a house like that. Why would I be walking, through that particular house? Well, it was 10 years later, I ended up in Atlanta, America, and I was on this property, and I went to a certain part of that house, and all of a sudden the dream came back. I went, this is the house. This is the house that I was walking through. And Jessica, my daughter, was the only one that was with me in that house, and she was with me on that trip. So it was like, so yes, it's like my timeline of my life caught up to where I was meant to be and going. So it was a confirmation that I was meant to be there. So that was really encouraging. And it was really like, and that time in the spirit when I was at that house was incredible. People, strangers were coming and knocking on the door to get healings, to get spiritual breakthroughs, to get their souls healed. And they were strangers. They just came knocking on the door, and it happened for 3 weeks. And I was like, wow, this is different. And then word traveled. So more people, strangers, would come knocking on my door and want to have, want to experience the presence and the power and the love of God. So it was a beautiful time, but it was a confirmation I was meant to be there at that time. And this is why the Spirit will always encourage you guys. He'll always cheer you on when you're moving the way that he wants you or needs you to move. Now, if you're hitting a bit of a brick wall in the Spirit, don't keep hitting your head against it. Pull back and ask why. Why? What's happening? Because this is where spiritual intelligence, forewarning, foresight, and your engaging wisdom will start to tell you what's going on. Because sometimes we think we got to go a certain way when that's not the way. So you always listen to that. Like if you're really struggling to make things happen, or you're really pushing in your own strength because this is where I've got to go, or this is what I need to do, or this is what I want to happen, and it's a real push, then you honestly, please step back and ask the Spirit why. Ask the Spirit what's happening, what's the resistance. Because if it's a spiritual attack or a blockage, then that's how you deal with it. But if you keep hitting your head against the brick wall, you're not going to get through, and you're not going to get answers. And we're always looking for answers. And this is, I heard this saying and I thought I really loved it. It's a privilege for kings to ask questions. And that's what we need to do. We need to ask questions. We ask questions of the Spirit. And I know I've said that a lot because it's really important. I'm always asking questions. If people present situations to me, I go, okay, is that what I'm meant to be doing? So you're always staying in the heart of God for your life. If we step out of the heart of God for your life, you tend to come into situations that you then got to pedal out of. Or you've got to turn around and go, sorry, God, I went my way instead of what you had for me. And to apologize to God is a quick reset. All it does, it's very powerful, and it wipes your slate clean so you can then start again. We all get to start again. It could be every 5 minutes of the day, every half an hour, every day, once a week, once a month, once a year. Doesn't matter. We always get a clean slate when we say sorry. And don't be afraid to say sorry to God. Because sometimes that's what we need to do, or say sorry to yourself. So dreams and visions. Sometimes you can have a vision while you're awake. So my kids can tell when I go into a vision when I'm awake. It's almost like I go into a trance. And then and sometimes it's people pull you out of it and you go, oh, I wish you didn't do that. Because I'm having this great time in this vision because I'm getting all this insight. And that's why when you're with people that can see in the spirit, they can see when you're having those visions and they will protect you. They will guard you. So let me share another experience. This is something that I would think some of you have had experiences with, but often in a community setting where the Spirit of God is moving, and then it's like everybody wants to jump in on it. They want to jump in on what the Spirit's doing. Now, when people are getting, this is what I do in my community, is when the Spirit is moving so powerfully, I will not let anybody touch anybody. Right? Number one, for a couple of reasons. Number one, I'm a big believer in not letting just anybody lay their hands on me. Right? Because there is a transference, and they can block what the spirit of purity and love that comes from God from flowing through a person. They can stop it, or they interfere with it. So in my community, I tell people, no laying of hands, no one touch one another, right? When the Spirit's moving, let the Spirit move. You don't need to do anything. The Spirit's moving. And when a person experiences the Spirit on a completely one-to-one basis without any human interaction, it is the most powerful encounter that they can have. Number two, the reason is, and this is where spiritual intelligence, foresight is really important, to see what God is doing and what he wants to do, and then creating that space for him to move. But the other thing too is when people go into an encounter in the Spirit, when someone touches them, it brings them back into the 3D realm, and it will stop it. And when I see people having encounters, and I'm going to be really honest with you, sometimes God gives me the privilege to see what's actually happening for that person and what he's doing for them. Now, when I say that, it's there's two realms to it, two depths to it. There's one where I'm seeing, but then there's one that I'm actually, my heart's connected to it and I can see what's happening for them. And it moves me because it's such a privilege to see the heart of God for a person. And these are the things that God wants us to move in with. Because if you have the heart of God for a person, you look at them completely different. You don't see their garbage. You don't see their fault, their where they fall short, or, where they're not coming from their spirit. You actually see God's heart for them. And that is so powerful, and it moves me, and I get excited for them. And then God will start telling me to start speaking to the heart that he has for them, not where they're at. We're about bringing people up, bringing people out of what they're under and coming up into what God has for them, what's been written on their heart, what's been their purpose and their plan. And I will shout that from the rooftops, and I will champion people to be all that God has for them and what that he has designed them to be, not what this world has told them they should be, all the hurts and the traumas and the entities that keep us locked down. So this is all part of spiritual intelligence. It's picking up where people are at. You can pick up where people are at when they're 1,000 miles away, 10,000 miles away from the other side of the earth. You can pick up where people are at and what's going on for them because you are tapping into the true source of creator. So what are some of the things that bring dullness to our spiritual intelligence? And there are a couple of things. There's some practical things. And this is an interesting subject, and people are not aware of this very often, but some of the foods that you eat will keep you spiritually dull, especially the way that they have modified our foods, how they have, and that's another subject on its own, but I'm hoping that you guys get all of that, is that, Coca-Cola and Red Bull and all those things, all that sugar, and it's cane sugar, it's not pure sugar or proper sugar, that all dulls your spiritual senses. Alcohol will dull your senses because it brings you, it almost like it sedates you. Packaged food, white wheat, the way that they've modified it, GMO modification. Like I'm just sharing, I don't eat white bread. I don't eat bread. I don't eat carbs. I don't have pasta or any of those sort of things because of the way that it affects me spiritually as well as physically. So this is part of your spiritual intelligence, growing in knowing what's good for you to eat and what's not. So it's a pretty boring, food regime that I have, but it works for me. And I'm not a foodie. Can I just say that? I basically eat because I need to. I'm not, oh my gosh, let's cook up this feast. I'm happy for someone else to cook it up, but that's not me, right? I'm not a kitchen girl. And it's really interesting. People that I get it. That's their thing. And there's a whole realm about people that are foodies, that they put this beautiful love and intention into what they cook, and the food can taste amazing because of their love and attention in their food. But yeah, I'm just not a foodie. I eat what I need to eat to stay alive and and keep me going. But please be aware of that, because people don't take that in consideration. Honestly, if you're eating lots of cakes and chips and chocolate and, sugary drinks and all that sort of thing, number one, it's really bad for your health, and they've designed it that way. But number two, it does dampen your spiritual intuition. It dampens your awareness in, not only in the natural, but in the spiritual as well. And that's why, you find what keeps you in that place where you're constantly opened and your body is part of that. Remember, we're body, soul, spirit. Well, spirit, soul, body, spirit. Remember the diagram that we talked about last week. And that's how we stay in that tight governance or tight alignment of, what we want to bring and be. And it's I always want to be the best that I can be. Like, I work with what God has given me in the natural, and I make it the best that I can make it. So, and in the spiritual, it's the same. I want the best that I can be. I want to be sharp. I want to be in tune with God. I want him to show me what's around the corner. So all those wants that I just shared is available, and I focus on that. So remember what we talked about, where where your mind is set, where your heart is set, what your intentions are, is where it'll take you. So they're the things I want. I don't like feeling dull. I don't like not hearing God. I don't like when my spirit's flat. I don't like living like that. I just go, to me, that's like, what's the point? I really like being in that higher place of hearing and feeling God's presence and working with him and moving with him to bring that love and encouragement to others. And that's all wrapped in everything that I've said today. That's you operating at your best. And part of your spiritual intelligence is, that little still voice, or that little check in your spirit, in your gut area, or a sense of a red flag, or listening. Now, this is really important too, guys. There's a scripture that says, hear ye, hear ye, hear ye. It's repeated 3 times. The reason that it is stated 3 times, it's a spiritual law, but it's also a law in law. When you, I'm just thinking, I think it's in the courts. In the courts, they'll call your name 3 times, right? Everything is the law of 3. If you've got 3 notices, if you have something said to you 3 times, like, they know how to use it, but we're not using it. So it's basically, if you say something 3 times, it's law. You've created a law. So hear ye, hear ye, hear ye. There's 3 types of hearing there. There's hearing in the natural, there's hearing in the spiritual, but there's also hearing what's around, hearing to the intention, hearing the motivation. And that's part of spiritual intelligence. It's part of that person is saying these words, but what I'm actually hearing is the intention and the motivation, or their agenda or their ego behind the words that they're speaking. So this is where, when people say things, you can then go, okay, what are they really saying and what do they really want? Now, this is where the spirit will show you whether they're trying to manipulate you, or they're trying to use shame and guilt to get you to get your will to be bent to their will. Right? And so this is really important, because we have a lot of that out there. This is what the hierarchies are doing, where they are using fear or bully tactics to make us, come into consenting or agreeing with their objective. Now, when you're aware of that, in the spirit, we can then counteract it. We don't always have to use words, guys. We go in the spirit and we counteract. We bring change. Cal's got a story of his own about what happened while he was in prison. And there was an entity in a particular stairwell, and he saw, and everyone that stepped into that space, all they wanted to do was fight. And he had perceived with his spiritual intelligence there was an entity there, and that he then helped the guy, if I'm correct, then change that whole circumstance so that there wasn't a fight. That's governance, that's spiritual intelligence, that's tapping into wisdom. He had foresight and he was forewarned, and then he engaged with the spirit to change the situation. These are all available to all of us, all the time, every minute of the day. So in wrapping that up, I don't even know what time it is, but with that.
We're at about 40 minutes in.
Okay, cool. So with that, it comes back again, guys, to your awareness and wanting to be aware, but then asking the questions. So to develop or grow this gifting or this ability is asking the questions. And then always, again, step back. Don't come from your emotions. Don't come from a reaction. Don't come from fear or, that fear or flight response. This is where you stay in rest and stay at peace, because it's an offer. So you're like, hang on a minute, I'm going to sit back from this offer and I'm going to assess the situation. I'm going to assess what's really going on here. And then I'm going to decide how I'm going to move forward with it. Now, if you've got kids are really good at how to get what they want. And as a parent, sometimes we're like, nah, you're not winning this one. And sometimes you go, you know what? I'll let you win this one. I know what you're doing, but I'll let you win this one. And then you can have great conversation, because then you sit down with your kids or another person, your partner, whatever, and go, listen, I actually felt quite manipulated by that. Like, why did you have to think you had to manipulate me? Why couldn't you just ask me? Because remember, there's a difference between I have to and I want to. Everything I share with you about, my relationship with God and the journey that my life, my journey that I've been on with him, is because I want to. I want the life that he has for me. I want to go on the journey of going deeper and wider and higher. Some people don't, and that's okay. Some people go, I just like doing what I do and I'm comfortable with that. That's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. It's all about what your heart desire is, and I know that there's people on this call that go, I just want to learn more. And that's great. I'm happy to share. I'm happy for you to, take the jewels of my life and the gold that, the fire of the gold that I've gone through and utilize it. So that's what I was going to share with you. In Australia, I don't know if you've got this app. It's a traveling app. It's called Waze. And so in Australia, there's this app. It's like Google, like a GPS Google, but it's called Waze, W-A-Z-E, here in Australia. I love this app. And the reason I love this app is because it's a community app. So if I'm driving and I see a car accident, you can put on this TripAdvisor that there is a car accident, and it will let everyone else that's coming along that journey that there is a car accident. Or if there's police, on the side of the road that's going to fine you for speeding, not that any of it's speed, but it'll tell you, oh, police up ahead, or yes, it's a wonderful app. So and what I love about it is that it is a community app. So when you go past, say, the police, it will ask you, are they still there? And then you'll click, yes, they are. So then it keeps telling everybody that they're still there. If they're not there, you press not there, and it doesn't need to advise anybody what's there, whether it's a car accident or a broken down car or, whatever, or police. And I use that app and I started to go, you know what, this is a great app, because imagine we as people can forewarn people along their life's journey of the hiccups, of the potential accidents, or, where the enemy might be sitting, waiting to come after you. And I was like, wow, that's exactly my heart. It's like, I just want to help forewarn people so that you don't have to go through the things I went through, but you are forewarned. So therefore you are forearmed. And sharing, my 45 years of experience with the things in the spirit that I've learnt because I've been hungry to learn them. And is it wrong for someone to go, oh, well, I don't need to learn that lesson because if I just do what Dot says or Jenny says or whoever says, then I don't have to go through that trial. Well, to me, that's a win. I think we have to come out of this mindset that God is constantly taking us through trials and tribulations to teach us things. So let me put it this way. Does God have to keep teaching you how to put your clothes on and off? Once you've learnt the lesson, you've learnt the lesson. My kids are both nearly 30. I don't have to keep telling them how to put their clothes on and off, and I don't have to do it for them. So this is our journey, is we are growing and learning these things, but we don't have to go back and learn them again because we've already learnt it. So then we move on to the next lesson. The same as instinctively, children know to cry when they're hungry or when they're in pain, or, when they're not happy, when they're tired. They instinctively do that. Then do we teach them to start crawling? I never taught my kids how to crawl. They just started doing it. Then they started walking. Did we help them? Did we get them on their little legs to show this is how this is what you do? There's a lot of things in the spirit that we can grab hold of that is intuitive. It's already there within us. We just have to engage it.
I have a question for you.
Okay.
So what happens if you keep going? What is that thing that happens when you keep going through that same, I'll call it a teaching, and you're not quite getting it, and you keep making that mistake, and you kick, I know we all kick ourselves for it, but is that a thing that we can get through quicker?
Okay, so absolutely, because if you're going through a circle of things that the same cycle keeps coming around, then there is a legal right for it to keep coming at you. So this is where we go into generational curses or, vows, or entities that, or we're not letting go. We're not letting go of like rejection, or we're not letting go of, we're not releasing forgiveness. So it depends on the circumstances, but always look at the cycles in your life, because there's good cycles as well as negative cycles. Okay. So, and then you go, okay, there are some things I go, well, God, you've brought me to this place before. Now I know last time I took myself out. You didn't take me out. I took myself out. How did I take myself out? I let someone else come and talk me out of what you had called me to do or what you told me to do. Or the enemy came along and made sure that I got ousted. Okay. And this is where that growing in, oh, okay, now I'm aware. So this is again asking questions. If there's patterns in my life, I always ask God, why? Okay, God, why is it that I attract that certain type of person? What is in me that needs to change? And he'll tell you, because he is more vested in you growing in who you were designed to be by him and fulfill what you are called to do. He is more vested in it than we are. The thing is, we need to get as invested in it as he is and partner with him. Because we have this, and I think it's a real, 3D type of thing, is that we go, oh, well, doesn't matter, when it actually does. We shrug things off, and this is partly because of a religious spirit as well. because it's like, oh, we'll just pour grace over that. We'll just tolerate that behavior. We'll just tolerate that abuse. We'll just tolerate, their discrediting my name because it doesn't matter. Now, are there times where God says, don't do anything? I'll do it for you? Yes. And I've had, I'm going, God, this is not true what they're saying. Like, what do you want me to do? He goes, I don't want you to do anything. I'm like, all right, well, I'm going to surrender it because there's an injustice here. I'm going to surrender it and I'm going to trust you. And every time God has vindicated me and I haven't had to say a word. Now, that is true justice and it's true vindication. And because often people that are trying to justify their behaviors are the ones that are actually the issue. And I've learnt to trust God in it. I go, okay, if it's my fault where I did the wrong thing or I said the wrong thing, I'm always really quick to go, okay, I'm sorry. And I'll go to that person and apologize. So it's about keeping short, that slate clean and a short list. All right. So everyone, I guess, your little journey for the next week is just tapping into that a little bit more and asking yourself more questions. I hope you guys are getting a lot out of this. I hope that it's really helping you. And Jenny, I was thinking it would be really good to, if people, I don't know how we're going to navigate this, but if people have got questions or there's subjects that they want us to go back over or go deeper in, maybe, I'm happy to take the emails if that helps.
I think what we could do is set it up, like we have the prayer form, we could set up a form for questions on subject matter. Yeah, we could do that.
Yep. How does everyone else feel like about that on the call?
I think that's a great idea. Someone actually asked that question here already, and I'm going to hit send. So.
Okay, fantastic. Now, so on that, guys, this is where you're going to practice not getting hurt and offended. If we don't get to your question straight away, then just give us grace and we will get to it.
And you're being led by the Holy Spirit. I've noticed that all of these weeks you've come on and talked, I have noticed you're spot on. Well, at least with what I need. I'm going to be a little selfish here, but it's been spot on. And it's almost like you're escalating, all the way back up to spiritual intelligence. It's very good. I don't know if you're planning all of that or what, but it's lining up well.
I'm just asking the Spirit what he wants me to share. And because, sometimes I'll sit down and I'll go, okay, well, I could do this. And I'll put it all together. And then God will go, no, I don't want you to say that. I'm going to show you this. And he may show me at 4 a.m. in the morning. It could be 7 a.m. just before we're about to get on the call. But I always know that he's going to come through. So I never panic. In the sense of going, well, God, this is your time. And, I'm just being open to what you want to bring to the people because he knows what you all need. And sometimes it's like, oh, yeah, I need that reminder. And that's why it's good for me too, because it's like, oh, that's right. And it's helping me unpack more of who I am and how I move in the Spirit. And that excites me too. Because it makes me dig deep in how does that work for me? How did I get there? Whereas you just coast along in life learning, but you're not always sharing the journey. So I'm getting to share my journey with you guys, which is absolute honor and a privilege. Yeah, honestly, I was thinking about it last night. I go, wow, this is just such an honor to share my journey with you guys and the things that I've learned. And there's no agenda here. There's no ego here. It's like, if you want to hear it, great. If you don't, great. All right, guys, I think I need to go now. And I'll hand that over to you, Jenny. Thank you very much. Have a great week and we'll talk soon.
Thank you, Dottie.
Bye, Dottie.
Thanks,
Thank
guys.
you.
Bye.
Dottie.
Thanks, Dottie.
Thank you. Blessings, everyone.
Thank you, Dottie.
Thank you.
Love you.
Thank you.